Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second race of the GTRM powered by gt-rennserien. This time we are at Chang International in Thailand. For me it's the first time actually commentating a race on this track. But yeah, I think this will be a very interesting one because it's a track that's not that known by the drivers. It's very new to some maybe. And in general, it should be kind of a race that can produce some surprises by different drivers. I think we will see the first signs of that in qualifying, which is currently on the way, just started. And yeah, last time out we've been on Zolder. A very, let's say, special or eventful race. We had the fights between the Bentley of Henrik Newland, who isn't here as of right now, but maybe he will join later, and Marco Chadron, which we are watching at the moment in the Porsche. Also the fights lower down the grid, Timo Plum, Mr. Minimi, a lot of action that took place, and we will go through the standings a bit later in the session because I think there were some surprises over the course of the race, even though it's only the first point scoring race, so it doesn't have to mean much for the championship itself. But yeah, currently we are watching Marco Chadron, winner of the first race in the Porsche, and let's see, our first times tumbled in, but I don't think that will be the final times at all. 1:34.57. It's not bad at all. That's pretty good, but there's still some time to improve on. Just got distracted, I'm sorry. So yeah, let's see, Gynekologo already only 7/10 behind. I think he could be one who profited of this track. I think it also suits the Ferrari quite well. It might not be the best track for the Porsche. It's very top speed heavy. It has very, very long straights. Porsche has good handling and good acceleration out of the very slow turns. But I think overall it just, even with the BOP, it just lacks the pace a bit. But we will see that. Marco Chadron now comes across the line with a 34.531. Actually takes pole position as of now. But yeah, as said, might be a bit weak here, but that will be the thing for every car on different tracks. I think the Ferrari struggled a bit on Zolder, and now it should have a bit of an advantage. We also got currently in second, as said, Mr. Minimi in the Audi, which could also be quite good. It doesn't have the best top speed, it certainly has good top speed. Also the braking performance of this car is just outstanding in this game. It can basically outbrake any other GT3, apart from the Porsche maybe. So that could be very interesting. In third, who already had a strong race in Zolder, Christian Grund, in the only McLaren we have on the grid so far this season. He managed to get P2 last race because of Henrik Newland's retirement just before the finish line. So yeah, he is far up there, and he's still showing that it's not just because of luck but because of pace. Only 500s behind Marco Chadron. And the 720S, depending on how you set it up, it really has to do with setups on this car. It can have a very decent top speed. It's not as good in fast corners, which we have in the second sector. But the top speed and braking performance in this car is very good, and definitely have something to fight with. So let's move on. Now in P4. Bit further down from before because Marco Chadron, Mr. Minimi and one improved, but still P4 for Gynekologo. I think he struggled a bit with the car in in Zolder. He came in 8th place, so 8 points for him. But P4 now would be already very good for him. Also behind we've got Marcel Löcken. He had to miss the last race, unfortunately, but now he's back in the Mercedes as we know, and in the normal league he is driving the Ferrari and he's quite struggling with it, so luckily this time he is in a car that suits him better. Let's see what he can do. Currently P5, so really very good start to the season for him. In P6 also in the pits currently, so not doing footage. Stefan Teuber. I think he didn't drive he didn't drive the last race. But now he's here with us, currently in P6. Let's see what he can do. Charlie Monk, he was in the Zolder race and he had some struggles. He finished the race P9 with 7 points then for him. But so far definitely does look better for him in this track. It's a bit more, it's not as brutal to the drivers, it has a lot of runoff. Kind of forgives you more. I think this could be a track for him to really catch up in the standings. And then P8 currently Jörn Decker in the Porsche. He had that big crash in the opening laps at Zolder, didn't finish the race, so still sitting on 0 points, but he has the pace, even though currently it's a bit further down the order. But that doesn't have to mean much in a 1 hour race. Or not 1 hour race, we've got 75 minutes actually. And a mandatory pit stop with hard tires, so that will be not the final standings you will see at the end of the race, I can guarantee you that. And then in P10 Lorenz Sargmeister, I think he can improve on that. He's 3.4 seconds off the pace. I think he's much faster than the last Winter League race he finished. I think it was P5 overall or something. P4, P5. So definitely a fast driver. Maybe not as fast as the top guys, but as said on this track, anything can happen. And definitely a consistent one. So I think he might be one of the candidates who can really put up a surprise at the end of the race when it comes to results. And we've got Dirk Pfeiffer, well known, well established, I think. Don't need to say much about him. It's, currently P11, but as you can see, 7.8 seconds behind. That's not his normal pace. So either he just put in the lap to be last, which he kind of does sometimes. If you see a big Bentley just blasting through the field, that's usually Dirk. So very interesting. Looking forward to see if he does another lap. He's also in the chat, so greetings Tim and good luck for the race. And the other Bentley we have, which is Hendrik Newland, who kinda I don't know how to say really. Like, he created a lot of surprising moments in Zolder. He definitely didn't want to feel left out in the action, and he seems to have some very special suspension work on the front right, or it's actually damage. And the Pfeiffer's not on this track. Might be interesting if he's struggling on this track, but we shall see. I think it's a track you can get used to while driving pretty fast. And I don't think it's that bad of a track actually, even though it's quite bland sometimes. But anyway, as said, good luck. And Hendrik Newland, he chased down Markus Stadron, lost the position, chased him down again, defended from him, and then on the last few laps he had to fuse safe to make it to the finish, just to miss out by a few meters, coming to hold maybe 5 meters before the finish line and DNF for the race. So it's super unfortunate for him. to have lost out on 20 points at least. Not 20, I think he was already P3, but that would have still been 16 or 13 points. So, yeah, definitely some valuable points lost there. And we still got 4 races to go. It's more than enough. What else have we got? Obviously, Timo Plum. Can't leave him out. He's, I think, one of the most integral parts. Nice save there of this community. Very fast. Was a bit too aggressive in Zolder. And lost out on some points there because he tried some moves on, I think it was Mr. Minimi. And in the end cost him a bit. But still P3 in the end, so. I know it was Christian Bond, I think. Who chased down for the last laps. But also struggling a bit with the track itself. But otherwise, very fast. Very good driver. Also very fair. And I think he will improve on his time. He's by 1 or 2 tenths. That's my prediction. My Marco Sharon is down to 134.15. Sorry. And then last but not least, probably someone will join anyway later, but it's also got Colin Blankenburg. I think also don't have to say much to him. The one who plays Racing Ranked should have met him at this point. Very fast and precise driver, in my opinion. In his usual, I want to say BMW, what did I want to say BMW? Obviously it's a Mercedes AMG GT3. And didn't set a time yet. See if he will later in the session. Still have 15 minutes to go, so there's plenty of time to do that in 1 minute 30 lap. So that's pretty interesting to have him here. He didn't drive the last race, but it doesn't have to mean much. As said, others had DNFs and should still be in the mix. Also, if you're wondering, we still have some missing features for the stream because Racing Reality doesn't work to 100%. So unfortunately I can't show you everything all the time. Top 2, Mark Sherrow and Christian Brunt, who put it in second. Both in the pits. Can go on an onboard lap with Mr. Minimi here. Because I don't think everyone knows this track. It's not much use, but I think it should deserve some more action being held on this track. You have this very long first straight, and then a super hard braking zone for the right-hander, 180 degree. Pretty tight, and he actually goes back to the pits. Yeah, the right-hander, it's very tricky because you obviously want to brake as late as possible, but it's not always that easy. Sometimes you're just really missing the points to orientate on. Sound is a bit buggy in replay, so that's not how it sounds in game. Then you want to accelerate out of the turn, and as Marvin Magdenberg, who's in the chat, correctly says, really underrated track. I also kind of ignored it all the time because it wasn't used, but for some trailers I needed to drive in, and even though it seems kind of boring at first, if you really start driving it and finding the lines, it's, I think, very interesting. Because it has very nice corner combinations, especially in Sector 2 and Sector 3. For example, now the corners we are heading onto now. So you have this right-hander, and Pinnacle is also parking it exactly the wrong moment. So let's just go on another lap with Henrik Newland in the Bentley this time. Maybe from cockpit view. And he also parks it commentator's curse or something. Let's just continue the lap with Mr. Mini. This left-hander very awesome to drive, especially in G3s in my opinion. And you have a hard braking zone for a tighter left-hander, which is directly connected to the left-hander after, but you have to stay to the inside because you have a double right-hander after this one. Again, a very fast kink. You have to downshift 2 gears, but still very fast. And again, hard braking zones. Hard braking zones are kind of the main thing on this track. And then you have to get through these S-bands as good as possible. And Mr. Menu just building a gap to the car in front. It's normal. So yeah, very interesting lap. I think we will see the most racing action on the first straight, in the braking zone for the hairpin, and on the back straight. I think it really gives a lot of opportunities for undercuts, because you might dive bomb, even though you have a lot of space. You might dive bomb, or if you see that someone is trying it on the inside, you can let them have the inside and just zoom around the outside, accelerate early, and you have a very long straight to really use that pace advantage you have out of the turn. And especially with the different cars, the Porsche is better on acceleration than, for example, the Bentley. Out of turns later, obviously, the Bentley is much faster. But this might really be visible, like really visible in these, with the cars in this track. Because it kind of emphasizes the different abilities of the cars, and it's not like you have a long straight and then some turns in a long straight. You kind of have a long straight, then one turn, a long straight, and then you have the technical part, the many sweeping turns, and then you have tight corners with shorter straights and then long straights again. So it's kind of not mixed in that regard. It's kind of every sector really plays into the hands of certain cars, but that could make it very interesting for racing. It's also not boring to drive, even if it may sound like that, but it isn't. So on the main straight you reach speeds up to 255 kph. And welcome Charlie Monk as well. Good to see you, good luck for the race. See what Mr. Minmi can hit on the back straight. 240. Unfortunately, as said, I can't show you on the screen because that stuff is bugged. Why? I don't know. But it is. I also tried different browsers and stuff. So yeah, it's a bit weird. So I'll maybe change to this. I think we have to work with what we got. Also, Mark Chadron and Christian Band are also both driving now. But what I want to show you, the pit exit and entry are very interesting. As you can see from this shot from Mark Chadron, the pit entry kind of extends just out of the last turn. So it's again kind of the same thing as in Zolder. If you have a car in front, you will lose time. But it's not as much as in Zolder, as it's not completely on the ideal line. It's more on the outside line. You have to brake on the ideal line just later, as in Zolder. But you don't need to have that much of a gap. And there's the Audi of, I think it's Timo Plum standing there, yeah. So this might be interesting. And the exit is even better because you have a longer one for the first straight basically, but you come onto the straight at an angle, and if there is a car nearby, you really have to watch out. You don't have to give way if you're within the lines, I think, but both cars really have to play together. I think the car that is on the track before should see the other car with ease that's coming out of the pits, but still, depending on who the drivers are, they might just be like, you shall not pass. That's what I want to say. I don't think we will see it in this race, because gt-rennserien is a very clean racing community, and on Zolder or any other race I've watched, didn't have any problems like that. Also on the not tough route which we are racing regularly. But if this track should be used for ranked racing and stuff, could be very interesting. It's a bit buggy with the curb sometimes, the spectator, that's normal. You can really see how much, for example, the Bentley doesn't want to turn through these high-speed technical turns. It's like jumping a lot on the axle sometimes. But therefore definitely got the speed and the power. Henrik Nguyen parks it again. Let's watch Master Löcken. I think we didn't see him drive at all so far. Also, yeah, the curbs you just hit on the inside. That is very tricky because it's kind of blind. Very interesting guy. But it's kind of blind, so you have to judge your turn-in point and braking point, even though you just tap the brakes a bit. Of other things, except the apex or curbs on the right hand side, because you cannot see them that good. But if you turn in too early, you just jump off these curbs, and there's the pit entry, as Muscling shows in a very cool demonstration, drifting into the pits. You just have to really know the pit entry line, because it's very early, and if you go too fast in the pits, I think pit limiter is 80 kph. I mean, I can have a look on it if I see that someone drives out of the pits. I saw Colin Blankenburg put in his first times. In P7 at the moment. See, I think this lap might be better. 2/10 off in both sectors. And definitely is better. P5 for the German. And back into the pits. Timo Plum currently 6th on his outlap, I think. Taking as much of a wide length through the last one to gather as much speed as possible for the flying lap. So what you also can see sometimes is especially on this track, you kind of keep the curb between your wheels because you have a lot of grip on the AstroTurf on the outside. I think it's actually just painted concrete. Oh, and big slide there for Timo Plum. And big impact into the barriers. Not much of a problem in qualifying. But obviously you don't want to have this to happen in the race. But, yeah, what I want to say, that you have drivers braking, for example, in Sector 2 for the second of the two left-handers. With the curb between the wheels, because it's just isn't a problem on this track. I think the darker green isn't actually AstroTurf, it's concrete, if I remember correctly. So it's no issue at all. As long as you don't clip the curb while braking, it shouldn't be a problem for those cars. They are not high anyway, so it's not much of a bump to hit. As we hit the last minute of qualifying. I think Markus Chadron could finish this lap. Mr. Minimi will finish this lap and is actually on a good way to improve his position. And it's the first 133 of 133.9, and it doesn't count. Didn't show up correctly then. It's a 134.179. I'm sorry. I think it did show wrong for a short moment there. So we've got Markus Chadron on pole in front of Mr. Minimi and Christian Brandt. That looks kind of familiar to me, but anyway. Henrik Newland in P4, Colin Blankenburg P5 on his debut. Timo Plum P6, Marcel Löcken, good P7, and Gynekologe also very good P8. Followed by Stefan Teuber and Charlie Monk, so you have Mercedes Ferrari 2 times on this grid. Then Jörn Decker P11, I think he hoped for more, but as said in the race, anything can happen. Lawrence Sargmeister P12 and Dirk Pfeiffer P13, but as said, he didn't drive another lap after this one. So it seems like he kind of planned on doing that. And the speed limit is actually 80 km/h. It will be quite important because, as always, we have a rolling start. So we will do a manual in lap, and the drivers will get into formation before the last turn. And then we have a rolling start. The leader, which in this case will be Markus Chadron, then has the power to decide when the race gets going. So the moment he accelerates above 80 kph or deactivates pit limiter, which is usually easier for the driver, then the race green and overtaking is allowed. Pretty simple actually, but very interesting because it's much closer than, for example, the race from rolling start, and also has to do with driver reactions. And we have a very tight first turn. It looks kind of wide, but driving wise it's very tight, because on the inside you have those sausage curbs, which are quite dangerous to drive. It's not damaging your suspension most of the cases, but just unsettling your car so much that you lose a lot of time, a lot of speed, or even worse, crash out, spin out, and then get hit by other races in the start of the race, and so on. So you definitely want to, don't do that. On the outside you also lose a lot of speed, because then you have to drive a much tighter radius. But obviously the one, Scotland Plank was spins out there, no issue in warm up. But obviously now the one down towards the hairpin will be the most interesting part. It's very wide, it narrows down but not too much. So it is a big opportunity for basically everyone, because you also can take so many lines. You can sacrifice the entry to get a good exit, or the other way around, which is also possible. Because the back stretch isn't too long. It's still quite long, but not as long as the front first stretch. But if you have a powerful car like the Bentley, for example, you really can't try that to sacrifice the entry and get a good exit. The other way around, you can just yeet it, lob it into the corner, have a good entry, and sacrifice the exit and just make up for the lost time by power. So, I think we will see a very interesting start. Some drivers use warm-up to get used to the car, some don't. I also really like the structure of the pits, let's say. So it's like one stretch of road which you drive constantly on, but you have this short chicane in it, which you obviously don't have to check. There's still the road going onwards, but it's kind of meant that you drive there and stuff. It's kind of interesting. It's yeah, not as typical. Yeah, that's what I mean. He's driving on the right side. That's what I mean. You kind of have a not too steep, but still quite steep angle onto the track. As we have 30 seconds in warm-up left. Warm-up should now be finished. It's probably waiting for the server. Yeah, there we go. 1 minute. There we go. All drivers on the grid. And well, the lights go green and nothing is really happening because obviously we have the in-lap. Marcus Chadron will lead. Not leave. Hope he doesn't leave, but he will lead the first lap. Lead the pack to the start-finish line. And this is actually always a good opportunity for the drivers to warm up the tires and the brakes, which is pretty important. Not as much in GT3s usually, because GT3s can cope with the lower tire temperatures. But they are not driving these swerving maneuvers to just look good and look like they real life, but it really heats up the tires. And usually in racing with a normal start you will always start on cold tires. But with the manual in-lap you can heat them up. You won't be able to get them on full temperature usually without damaging them. So that's another point you have to watch out for. Not overusing not damaging the tire too much. And also the brakes. If you just apply a bit of brake all the time, which is why you see some cars having the brake lights on very often, they are just heating up the brakes. And heating up brakes is really important if you have a hard braking zone like on this track. It really gives you a lot of braking performance. I think the best way to experience is to have a track maybe like the Nürburgring. Or what is another very good track for this? Nürburgring actually as well, where you have a very, very tight turn as turn 1. Chang is not too tight, and you also have the long stretch before the hairpin anyway. So there most cars will lose brake temperature anyway. And now Marc Chadron, after exiting this turn, now is in control of the start. When he goes green, everything goes green. Still in pit limiter, still 80 kph. And he now pulls the trigger and snaps away from the field. Obviously, as the leader, you have the advantage over all the other cars in the first lap. And it's Henrik Newland trying it on the inside of Mr. Minimi. Everyone got clean through the first turn, apparently. Mr. Minimi still in P2. Had to defend from 2 cars. And you can see them driving side by side. Marc Chadron leading into turn 1. There you can see it's free wide. Close battle between the Bentley and the McLaren. Henrik Newland passing Krystall Brand, and I think the Bentley has enough power to keep it in front. Further behind, Günnikolog got past Marcel Löcken. Timo Plum still in 6th. And also very close behind Colin Blankenburg. And Marcel Löcken trying a dive down the inside. Can he now stick it through the left-hander? And really able to defend it through the right-hander? He's still side by side. Now is to also watch out for Charlie Mong. Lost out to Günnikolog, but came out ahead of Charlie Mong. And Laurens Sargmeister dropping down the order. Seems to have had kind of a problem. He swerved out of the way. I don't know if it was intentional or if he did a mistake or if it was something else. He has picked up some damage or something. So in the front pack, only Henrik Newland made up 1 position, which kind of surprised me. I thought there were some more position changes, and we were really very close to that, but didn't work out quite for the drivers. Christian Brandt though very close behind the Bentley. Oh, and we have someone in the gravel there. I think it's Charlie Monk who spun, and we also had Jörn Decker having to take through the runoff to avoid the collision, I guess. Oh, and Henrik Newland spins, collects the Mercedes of Colin Blankenburg, hits the inside barrier. Colin Blankenburg turns it around again directly. There was contact between the 2 of them. Henrik Newland descending now, starts rolling again. Is that too much damage? Is he able to continue driving? There's a lot of damage to the front of the Bentley. Maybe he doesn't pick up any engine damage. Would be the worst case if he has picked up engine damage or suspension damage. Right, Timo Plum is shown a stolen penalty for track limiter, but it's not a problem. It's usually easily servable on this track. But that means Timo Plum moved up the order to P4. Colin Blankenburg dropped to 10th, is now behind Dirk Pfeiffer, moved up to P9. Remember, he started last in the grid. But it's still a very long race, still 1 hour and 12 to go. And Marc Chadron, Aston Zolder running away with the lead in the opening stages of the race. Let's see how this time it will continue through the race. Günnikolog running in P5, Marcel in P6. And the car is on P7. He came from 12th on the grid. Masterlocken is edging closer to Gynäkologe. And straight, even with slipstream, he is getting closer, but straight is just isn't long enough for him. Also backs out for the turn. Dirty air, you can really see it how much more understeer he is. Now to the more technical part, the AMG should have the upper hand. Much better exit from Marcel there. Both running wide. Stefan Teuber kept his 8th position. Or moved up 1 position, I guess. I think he started 9. Behind the pairings of the Mercedes and Ferraris. It's always a back and forth between Mr. Minimi and Christian Brand. Brand is getting close in the 2nd and 3rd sector, while Mini is running away in the 1st sector. Obviously the braking, the Audi plays a huge part in that. Top speed wise, the McLaren, even with slipstream, there should be pretty equal. Honestly, can't compare it 100% because Christian Brand has slipstream. But even with that, it's just a bit faster. 102 kph, high speeds 3. Oh, and Jörn Decker got past Stefan Teuber now in P7. Use the better acceleration of the Porsche out of the hairpin, just turn 3. Oh, and Masterlocken and Gynäkologe side by side again. And this time Gynäkologe went very wide and Masterlocken is up into 5th. Good move there by him. Doesn't show that any contact happened between the two of them, so clean maneuver as well. And now Christian Brand again getting closer. Oh, and now Colin Blankenburg also very close to Dirk Pfeiffer. And Stefan Teuber got past Jörn Decker again. Not sure if he made a mistake or... There's no incident shown, so has to be a minor one. And Colin Blankenburg having the better one of the last corner, but can't quite make it. Oh, and hits the rear of Dirk Pfeiffer, who spins around, and Colin Blankenburg as well. Just brake too late for turn 1, or not necessarily too late, but later than Dirk. And lost him a huge chunk of time that also lost Dirk Pfeiffer, all the ground he made up during the race. It's very unfortunate for him. Was definitely innocent bystander in that one. Nothing he could have done. Now side by side with the other Bentley of Henrik Newland. A bit of contact, nothing too much. Oh, and the Mercedes doing interesting stuff there, but it's just a bit of spectator mode shenanigans. Henrik Newland still behind Dirk Pfeiffer. So both Bentleys with a lot of ground to make up. Christian Brand, it's every time the same at a 3/10 mark on the start finish straight. But now on the straight you just can't get much closer, even loses ground. Oh, and Henrik Newland and Dirk Pfeiffer side by side. Into turn 1. Very close together, no contact this time. Still side by side, nothing separates them. Who will brake later for turn 3 now? Both braking at around the same time. Dirk Pfeiffer running a bit wide there. But he might have the better exit here, but just lost too much time trying the outside line. And even with the top speed advantage now, it shouldn't be enough for him, yes. And you're in Decker getting behind Stefan Teuber, who really puts up a good fight against the Porsche. Markus had won 1.4 seconds. He's not much faster than the two cars behind. His best lap is actually slower, and Mr. Minimi just drove his best lap. The 135.173. Markus had won is lapping around 800 slower. Oh, and we have a yellow. Gynekologo lost control at the exit of Gen 1. It's very unfortunate for him. He had a very good opening phase, went in P5, 6 I think it was. So yeah, I think we still have a lot of things to happen in this race. We only drove 20 minutes, 10 minutes, even less than that. And now Dirk 5 on the inside of the Ferrari. Those two had a battle last week at the Nordschleife. And here they fight again, and Christian Brunt is also very close to Mr. Minimi and Charlie Monk in a close fight with Laurens Sagmeister, and obviously the three cars behind just waiting for something to happen. Don't really know where to look first. Colin Blankenburg is closing in on Jörn Decker meanwhile. So I think the action just gets going. Again, Christian Brunt with 3 to 4 tenths crossing the start-finish line. Henrik Newland now on the inside of the Ferrari. No contact. Very close between the next one is the right-hander, so the range for the Ferrari a little touch there. And there's again Colin Blanc. This time he just lost control exiting the final turn, seems like. And all four cars very close to each other. Henrik Newland on the outside of the Ferrari. Dirk Pfeiffer sweeping to the inside, trying a double pass here maybe. Oh, and Henrik Newland diving down the inside. Dirk Pfeiffer picking up both Ferraris as Gynekologo goes wide. And Laurens Sagmeister still in front, but Charlie Monk just lost out 2 positions to the Bentleys. At front, Christian Brunt now lost the was kind of the slipstream to Mr. Minimi. Still a bit, but on 9 tenths behind him now. But this is also everything for points, because we only have 13 cars, everyone will receive points for finishes. So also fighting or something. Should keep in mind that the two Ferraris are very close to each other, side by side. Gynekologo on the inside, which now becomes the outside. Having a look down the inside, just showing him that he's there. Oh, and now diving it down the inside of Charlie Monk. Very good move there. Just put pressure on Charlie Monk until he made a slight mistake and nearly used it. And someone's coming into the pits. Don't know who right now. It's Jörn Decker. Jörn Decker into the pits. So the pit window hasn't opened yet. Oh, it seems like he's refueling. I'd need a view from the front to say that probably, but maybe he was still on quali fuel. No, he's also changing tires. It's weird. Let's see what happens. I do think it's mandatory pit stop. At least it says mandatory pit stop for tire change. Dick Pfeiffer, Gynaecologue, both close to low and Sidemaster. And Mr. Mini has to have made a mistake, apparently, because Christian Ron is now 3/10 behind. You can also see the many different lines people take, and one with their own approach to the corners. Christian Brandt now very close, so close he has ever been in the last laps. Very close in slipstream. Can he dive it down the inside? Will he try? Mr. Minimi defends to the inside. Christian Brandt to the outside. We have something happening in the background. In the lower part of the field, let's say. Gynaecologue was in a collision. Still in front of Charlie Monk, but both lost time. But now Christian Brandt again, very close in slipstream. What does Mr. Minimi do now? Or will Christian Brandt even attack? No, he doesn't. It's very risky into the left-hander. And Dick Pfeiffer as well, down the inside of Lawrence Sargmeister. Let's say it's a bit better brakes, but it doesn't matter too much into this corner sometimes. Dick Pfeiffer with the better line. Gets back up into 9th place. Gynaecologue and Charlie Monk, something has said. I think. Doesn't show that Charlie Monk was in a collision, so I guess Gynaecologue did something else. But Christian Brandt now a bit compromised because of this. And I think Markus Stadon does actually have the Porsche of Jörn Decker in front of him. Yeah, definitely is. So just about to lap him. So it's not what you want to have in that position. It's only 1.5 seconds in front of Mr. Minimi. So whilst it can help you, it can also really slow you down if you approach the back markers in the wrong places. I'm pretty sure Jörn Decker will let them pass these. I think he's already slowing down. But still, sometimes back markers just can't do much about it. And now even just in dirty air for the left-hander, which is very fast, so you really feel the dirty air. Has to dive it down the inside. And Decker leaves space, even goes off the track. But that lost Markus Stadon 3/10 apparently. Mr. Minimi and Christian Brandt could pass easy because the corner just allowed for better overtaking. And now it seems like everything has calmed down a bit. Christian Brandt and Mr. Minimi is the closest fight we have. The rest is spread out more. But we still have 58 minutes to drive. Charlie Monk is getting closer to Gynaecologue as well at the moment. So now that things have calmed down, even though the top 3 are closing in on each other a bit, we still got Markus Stadon leading the race. As of kind of predictable at this stage. I think it will become more interesting later this race when the tires go down a bit. Mr. Minimi and Christian Brandt since lap 1 in their fight. And Jörn Decker. Oh, that's a disconnect, I reckon. Falling through the world. It's very unfortunate. Oh, and Timo Plum, I just want to talk about a big hit into the barriers, just flew off. I think it was, what is it, turn 7. lost the rear end, overcorrected and slided right into the corner. That's 100% damage. Seems like the car's still running. Can still hear the engine. But that's the DNF for Timo Plum. Just a slide. Very hard to say. But just enough to unsettle the car and send straight into the barriers. At such high speeds. No car can survive that. Gynäkologe close to the Landesartmeister meanwhile. Just wanted to talk about him. Had a good race in P4. It's pretty silent, but would have been very good. Also, pit window just opened this lap. So now you have to come into the pits, change all 4 tires. And Gynäkologe braking very late there. But that just means that Master Löcken is the one who is driving in P4. He profited a lot of what happens in Sudden. Now he just has to keep his consistency over the course of the last 55 minutes. Well, last 55 minutes, it's still only drove 20 minutes in the regard, but he's usually pretty consistent, even though there are some slight mistakes, as we can see. That really shows you don't have to be the fastest, you have to be consistent. That is what matters. And I think he in the Mercedes. So if he bins it into a wall, then I don't know. Also, Stefan Teuber, I want to say that, or highlight that in P5, I don't think he made up a position on track, but he just drove consistently, didn't give up the fight with, was it Björn Decker? And now running in P5, Colin Blankenburg is closing in, but Colin Blankenburg did some mistakes this race. Just, I think it seems like he can't get in touch with the car too much on this track so far. So we have 2 vastly different drivers there right behind each other. Colin Blankenburg is around 1.2 seconds faster at the moment than Stefan Teuber. But still, P6 for Stefan Teuber would also be very good, I guess. Also, the 2 Bentleys, we saw them being last, I think, in lap 3. Now again, 7th and 8th. Oh, and Lawrence Sackmeister going right. Might be the better line though, as Gynäkologe really keeps it on the inside line. But Henrik Newland and Dirk Pfeiffer, both on a good way to some solid points if it continues like that. Henrik Newland lapping at 35.3. That's 1/2 tenth slower. Oh no, I'm sorry, I read the wrong one. Henrik Newland's last lap was invalid, so I can't say that. But Dirk Pfeiffer's last lap was a 36, and it's faster than Marcel Löcken and Stefan Teuber. Christian Run again very close. Maybe this time he doesn't compromise his last sectors again. I think this is be the smartest thing now, to just back off for the double left-hander bit. Slight bit to not run into Mr. Minimi and then catch up in the last sector. To be right in position for the 2 straightaways. Because with slipstream the McLaren definitely is faster. Und Gynäkologe and Charlie Monk side by side. Charlie Monk brakes too late, hits the other Ferrari. Just basically a door slam. Oh, and Gynäkologe very unstable on the accelerator there. Uses a lot of time. So now Christian Brandt Again, 3600s behind. So Colin Blankenburg very close to Stefan Teuber now. So I think we will see a move this lap. Does he dive it down the inside already? Definitely has a luxury for Teuber, leaves some space. Colin Blankenburg will probably drive on a very low TC level again, so if done right he can accelerate very good out of turns. Meanwhile, Christian Brandt couldn't overtake Mr. Minimi. Did he happen? Oh, actually, he did what I was talking about. He did. Mr. Minimi flashing the lights, so... Don't know what happened exactly there, but it just... So the timing increased, so I thought it didn't... But it worked out for Christian Brandt. So, Christian Brandt, not the one chasing down Marc Cheron, is still just... It's just, I say just, but it's still, you have to keep in mind they are very fast. 1.7 seconds in front. And Christian Brandt showed that he is a bit faster than Mr. Minimi in the current stages of the race. And also Colin Blankenburg into P5. Now hunting down Marcel, but Marcel is a bit faster than Stefan Teuber, so this will take some time. So I'll keep another eye out for the lap times from now on, because obviously with this lap time Christian Brandt had to overtake Mr. Mini, which costs time. But even then it's just 1.5 tenths off Marc Cheron. And we have a close fight further down the order with Gynekologe trying again to get past Lawrence Seidmeister. The Mercedes are all, maybe except for Colin Blankenburg, but Colin Blankenburg therefore is very fast. But the other three Mercedes are not the fastest, but very consistent, I have to say. I think the Mercedes in general is a car that has kind of the image of the very consistent car. It's not like the Ferrari or Audi, which are very aggressive, easy to lose, hard to drive, but therefore very fast. So, two very different approaches to a GT3 basically. Oh, and they hit, and Gynekologe spun out, was able to keep it out of the barrier and just continued, not just too much time. Seems like he just understeered into Lawrence Seidmeister. It looked like there was enough space on the inside for him. Apparently Jörn Decker's GPU crashed. He just has so many problems, it's unbelievable. So if you should see this, very sorry for you. For all the issues you're experiencing at the moment. But let's get back to what happens on track. Mr. Minimi, he's not losing much time to Christian Brandt, so he's still chasing him down now. Both can't go quite the pace of Marc Cheron. Last lap 2/10 between Marc Cheron and the following two cars. So he's slowly building a gap. Maybe these two also, especially Christian Brandt, were following in slipstream, overused the tires a bit compared to Marc Cheron, who just could basically chill and preserve tires. And we have Charlie Monk spun around in the second sector. Exit turn 5. Henrik Müller now in striking range of Stefan Teuber. I'm not sure if he can do it in turn 3. I think it's too far away. It definitely is too far away. But now with a good exit, he might be able to do something into turn 4. Which is a fast left-hander. So now he got close, but couldn't yet get close enough to do anything to overtake Stefan Teuber. So this is now for P6. P6 gets you 10 points. And Henrik Müller really needs a good result if he wants to fight for the championship. This time he's much closer. The substream should be also greater. So maybe he can get close enough into turn 3. Still looks very far away. But still he tries it on the inside. With a dive bomb, can he stop it sometime? Yes. Stefan Teuber is having the look around the inside. And now it's basically a drag race. The two are side by side. The Bentley is a bit better on the power, but he has to make up some ground as the Mercedes had the better exit out of turn 3. Into turn 4, Stefan Teuber around the outside. And Henrik Müller just defends it around. It gets a bit wide there. Now Stefan Teuber has the chance to counter that. Not quite. Henrik Müller with the better exit. This could get the power down earlier. Good move there by Henrik Müller and very solid defense by Stefan Teuber. And it's again a fight between Gynäkologe and Lorenz Sagmeister. Oh, and Gynäkologe loses it. Managed to keep the car in check and stuff. And continue like nothing happened anyway, but that can happen very fast on the Ferrari or the Audi. Or any mid-engine car in that regard that's on the newer side. And Gynäkologe into the pits, that's what I meant. With the pit entry. He's actually the first one to pit. First mandatory pit stop. Obviously refueling, you need to refuel for a 1 hour 15 race. Especially with the thirsty V8 behind your back. Mr. Mini keeps the distance to Christian Brandt. They're still losing 1.5 to 2/10 a lap to Markus Stadron, but so Gynäkologe came out behind the leading back and in front of Master Löcken. So the guy he battled with at the opening stage of the race. At least clean air for him. Tries the undercut on low and Sackmeister. And you can see Colin Blankenburg slowly but surely coming closer to Master Löcken. Curious to see if Master Löcken will really fight this position or not. If he just says, okay, you're faster than me, well, just let you pass, not lose too much time. Just get in P5 with save, or even wait for Colin then to make a mistake, or any other driver in that regard. It's in front of him. Or maybe he will fight it out. Secret machinery, so it's an opportunity to really outbrake someone. Stefan Tauber is still less than a second behind Henrik Newland. So maybe with someone to orientate in front of him. It's also lapping quicker in the 35s. Beginning of the race we always was 36s. Colin Blankenburg at the moment also the driver with the fastest lap in the race, and it's Lauren Sackmeister in the pits. That will be now very interesting with Gynekologe. I'll keep an eye on that one. But Colin Blankenburg at 35.012. Last lap also a 35.069. Nice. Both times faster than any other best lap. The second best lap is from Christian Run with a 35.090. Down Sackmeister. Now driving. There's Gynekologe out of the last time. Gynekologe will take that position with ease, I guess. Lauren Sackmeister still coming out of the pits. So the very interesting thing will be really come out in traffic. So they can see what I mean with the pit exit. He comes out right behind the two Mercedes. Colin Blankenburg leaving a lot of space. And Christian won the last few laps. Max Chardon has to have made a mistake. He drove with 36.197. It's 8/10 slower than Christian Run and Mr. Minimi. So something must have happened. And Colin Blankenburg now in striking range of Master Löcken. When will he attack? I think he will wait for turn 3 for the hairpin. Unless there's a very good opportunity for him. Oh, and it's Christian Brun into the pits. And this will now be a key catch again. Colin Blankenburg just sends it down the inside of the last turn like he does all the time, it feels like. But now can Master Löcken counterattack? That will be interesting. Oh, getting as close to Colin Blankenburg as possible, even touching him. But Colin Blankenburg just runs a way lower wing and is even faster than Master Löcken, who has slipstream. So no chance for Marcel along with drifts out of turn 3. So actually doesn't really have to worry about anything in terms of counter attacks, I guess. With the 3 kph speed advantage to other Mercedes already, who are on slipstream. Now Mr. Minimi, can he overcut? Will Christian Brandt undercut Marco Chadron? Will be very interesting to see when the other two pit. Marco Chadron is not coming to the pit, same with Mr. Minimi. I want the Meister going a bit wide there. No issue. So now in the strategy game, as Stefan Tauber is coming into the pits next, it's just about getting good laps in while the others are well out of your way, to say it like that. Colin Blankenburg meanwhile running very wide there. Bit of rally crossing. And I still think it's basically anyone's game. Maybe not for the win. I think this will go to one of the 3 in the leading group, Chadron, Minimi or Brandt. Colin is very far away, be a very long shot. But with the points that we have, basically every position you can gain at the moment is valuable. Charlie Monk meanwhile also in the pits. As we see Stefan Tauber driving off in the distance. Will he come out in clean air? Yes, he will. Has only the McLaren of Christian Brandt in far away side. Nicologo also overtakes Charlie Monk in the moment. Oh, and Marc Chadron now into the pits, same as Colin Blankenburg. Mr. Minimi stays out for another lap. Master Löcken as well. Henrik Newland also stays out. Dick Pfeiffer goes into the pits. So where's Christian Brandt? He's now through the final turn. Marc Chadron is driving again. Still has a lot of pit limiter time. Christian Brandt through start of finish. Marc Chadron now accelerating through the turn. He might have more speed. But that's Christian Brandt virtually leading the race right now. Just undercutted Marco Chadron with the earlier pit stop. Probably also had to refuel a bit less. But it's just like in Zolder. Marco Chadron losing the lead during the pit stop. Let's see where's Stefan Tauber. That might also be interesting. Now through the final turn. So Dick Pfeiffer will also come out behind Stefan Tauber this time. Should be the same as with... maybe? Actually, no. He is in front. Oh, it will be very close. They should have... yeah, Pfeiffer with the better one. Minimi in the pits now. Marcel Löcken stays out another lap and takes the lead of the second GTRM race in Chang International. Henrik Newland also stays out. And Christian Brandt, where's Christian Brandt now? Sadly the track map doesn't work here as well. It's now through the S-bands. Now coming up to the final turn. Mr. Minimi is still stationary. Now he drops down, fires up the car. He will come out behind the pair of them, I guess. They're now passed. Christian Brand is passed. And Markus Stadron is passed. But Mr. Minimi has much fresher tires than Markus Stadron has. Not much, but fresher tires than Stadron and much fresher tires than Christian Brand. So if Markus Stadron can close in on the McLaren and they get into a fight, Mr. Minimi can close in. So this will be very interesting. Colin Blankenburg seems to have lost some time in the pits as well. It's plus 26 before the pits, it was around plus 18. And also, Christian Brandt, while on the first tires, managed to get a 34.940. It's a 7, but doesn't matter anyway. So 34.947. The first sub 35 we have. And Henrik Newland now into the pits. Marcel stays out for yet another lap. Curious to see what he's up to. I mean, he has clean air. It's for him maybe completely the right decision. The pit delta we have, he might come out in traffic. Doesn't seem like it, but could always be. Henrik Newland also not driving again. Colin Blankenburg just flying by. Dick Pfeiffer probably too far away. Yeah, there you can see Newland driving out of the pits in the distance. Pfeiffer also up into P7 now again. So the pace definitely was there. 35.28. 4 tenths slower to the top guys, Mr. Minimi and Max Shadwan. And Marcel Löcken now into the pits. The final driver to come into the pits. Obviously Christian Brand, Shadwan and Minimi will overtake him with ease. No questioning there. Colin Blankenburg, this could actually be a bit tight. I don't think he will come on in front of Colin. But it's still 25 seconds. And Marcel is now driving again. So actually he will come out in Colin with big gap. He still has some pit lane ahead of him. Colin now through the final turn. Marcel might have just overcut Colin Blankenburg, and there you can see him driving out of the pits. And he definitely did overtake Colin Blankenburg there. So this will be also very interesting later in the race. Marcel looking now with fresher tires than Colin. Obviously Colin with the toe speed advantage. Currently, Christian Brand just running away with the lead. Shadon not really coming closer. But now the 34 times are coming in. Blankenburg with the 34.4, Brand with the 34.7, Shadon 34.8, Mini 34.9. And we still have 26 minutes to drive. So it's like 20 laps approximately. Nah, not 20, 18, so. Blankenburg actually put in a 34.031 last lap. It's faster than qualifying. Or as fast as qualifying at least. So really, we're going to get a feel for the track, I guess. You can see how much faster than Marcel he is right now. My prediction is for him to make a move into the last corner of next lap. Even though with the speed he's closing in. 5 kph faster on the straights than Marcel in slipstream. Hit 255 this lap. You can also see how different the lines are between Marcel and Colin Blankenburg. Colin is using much more of the track than Marcel is. But obviously this is also two very different approaches. Colin is much more aggressive with the car and Marcel just goes safe, and obviously it pays out. He's in 4th at the moment and will most likely finish in 5th. Now Colin has the look, can't quite make it, so my prediction unfortunately was wrong. But into turn 3 at latest. Doesn't do it right here. Oh, Marcel goes wide, loses speed, and now Colin Blankenburg is fast. No, even with the slipstream there's nothing Marcel can really do. Maybe send a dummy, but I don't think he will do that. Nope. Ah, but Colin goes wide, struggles with the car, and now they're side by side again. But I think this drag race will also go to Colin with the low drag setup. Marcel really tried to use the opportunity but to counter-attack. Front it kinda got yeah, pretty silent. It's all of 3 of them just lapping gaps, going back and forth a bit every time. Last lap Mini was the fastest, last 2 laps Mini was fastest by a few tenths actually, but still 2 seconds between him and Shadron, who himself has a 2-second gap to Brandt. something happened that I didn't see because Colin Blankenburg lost the position to Master Löckner again. I'm just having a look, but there's no incidents being recorded. So the gap to Marcel is 1.2 seconds, so I guess it will take this lap and the next lap, and then we'll see no overtake. That's what I said, it's much like how you approach your race. Conan goes very aggressive, pushes as much as possible in this car. As you can see, out of every turn he's just right on the edge between losing the car and getting a great exit. And he is much faster than anyone else at the moment. Through the whole race already. But he always kind of loses the position again. Mini just lost 8/10 last lap to Mark Shadow. Oh, and we have, I think it was Charlie Monk. Stationary lost control, yes, Charlie Monk. Who's now close to being lapped by Marco Shadwan, Christian Bond and Mr. Minimi. But it's Christian Bond who will do this first, I guess. So now Charlie Monk yields to the outside. Not quite. Just look from this perspective. Well, not quite. He's still doing it, but braking early. Christian Monk just can go around the outside. Fair play by him there. Oxshadron will be the next, and you can see the gap really increased to Mr. Minimi. Not sure what happened there. Last lap was invalid, so I can't really tell what happened. Oxshadron lost a bit of time due to this. Had to overtake in a not so fortunate place. So it's again 1.7 seconds separating the two, 16 minutes left. I think if they come close to each other again, this will be in the final 2 laps or something. So Max Sharon is a bit faster, but just a slight bit. Also, Colin Blankbook again has lost a huge chunk of time. It's now 4.5 seconds. And I can't find anything. Only that he had a slowdown penalty quite some time ago, but... And Henry Newland is getting pretty close to him. So he has to watch out as well. Maybe he over pushed it the laps before, now it's a struggle with the end of the car a lot. And that's what loses him so much time. Because he doesn't seem to be that fast on exits anymore. Or he loses a lot of time on... No, he loses a lot of time with straights. Did he maybe under fuel and has to struggle with fuel savings? The driver behind him knows this very well. He's now going to the outside. And Newland obviously already talked about it with the last race. And just goes by with ease, so I guess Colin is having to save fuel. Which is obviously very unfortunate for him. After such a strong recovery. Remember, he was last or second to last at some point. After the collision with Dirk Pfeiffer. And the collection at the start, I think it was collected as well. So yeah. It looks like he's really limping. It's not even like he's just lifting coasting, but like losing several seconds a lap. And we can listen to the engine to see if he's short shifting. Yeah, he's definitely lifting very early. Short shifting as early as possible. I think what makes this mistake happen so easily is that we have quite a unique format. Like, not unique, but 75 minutes is not a time that you drive often. You either have 60 minutes, 2 hours, or 1.5 hours. 75 minutes is just like, you can't drive it without refueling, but you obviously want to refuel as little as possible, so you start on a full tank usually. And all that stuff. So I guess that's what makes these mistakes happen. And it could well be that if Colin has to fuel save a lot more and this until the end of the race, to Dirk Pfeiffer and Stefan Teuber get very close, or past even. But obviously the most important thing now is just finishing the race. To not end like Henrik Newland to lose even more points by not finishing. Max Chadong is getting closer to Christian Brandt, 1.1 seconds usually. Now the gap. Little slide there from Mark Chadon through turn 8. But he's inching closer and closer and closer. Speeds of the two cars actually seem to be kind of the same. So we still have 10 minutes. Much around just slightly faster in the current stage. And Deck 5 are now less than a second behind Colin, so I guess he'll get past with ease. You can also see Stefan Teuber in the background there already. And just lets him pass on the inside. Now he uses the slipstream to save some more fuel. Definitely the best thing you can do. If you want to know how much you save by driving slipstream, you have to try the Camaro GT3 at Daytona Oval combination that we did. I think it was already half a year ago in ranked racing. It was fun. It was very cool every time for me, but yeah, fuel saving is a big part. And Stefan Teuber now. That means the Wi-Fi back into P6. And Colin just letting him pass on the outside there. Yielding. Maybe at some point would have been the better option to just pit a second time and refuel, because Colin is losing incredibly much time. You can check his last lap if it's valid. It's a 1:43, that's yeah, a solid 7 seconds of the pace. 8 seconds, rather. If you think about that, he's doing that for 4 laps maybe now. Maybe 5. Yeah, that's a pit stop. And he will still continue to lose time. So Max Chardon, less than a second behind Christian Brandt. Mr. Minimi just like in Zolder, very fast in the opening stages, but near the end of the race just can't quite keep up. But that's also due to the Audi. It's not a good car for the long run. Quite the opposite. Kinda eats through the tires. As the Ferrari, as I said earlier in the stream, very aggressive to drive, very very pace focused. So you have a good pace, but not much long run pace and consistency in terms of lap times. So 2 very different lines through turn 9. So the pace difference, last lap 3:10. So I think now with slipstream he should be able to close in a bit faster. Doesn't have too much dirty air as of by now in the third sector. And comparing the speeds in the data I have available, he is usually the faster in the turns. even though he's not able to catch up in the straights. You can see in this corner specifically, Mark Shadron is going for a very early apex and just sticking you through the inside, while Christian Brand is going for a very late apex and just hitting the inside curb once. But it works for both cars, so... Now less than half a second between the two of them. And we are having maybe 4 more laps. And this is straight up for the win. If Marco Shadron wins, his championship lead will go to 50 points, or 10 points over Christian Brand, who will have 40 points, and Marco Shadron will have 50 points. If he doesn't manage to overtake Christian Brand, they will be equal on points on 45 points each. Mr. Mini with his 3rd place will jump the order to 3rd, and then has 27 points. Tim Plum will remain on his 16 points because he has a DNF. Dirk Pfeiffer, who's currently 6th, will gain another 10 points, so it's on 13, and therefore also will remain 4th in the championship. And I don't know why I thought so, but I thought Masalam wasn't present the last race, even though he does, I just saw. Maybe I threw something into the bin that wasn't true. Sorry for that one. So obviously, yes, he drove the last race. He finished 7th, 9 points. This time with 4th, he will get 13 points. 22 points, jumps to 5th standings. And I just see Colin Blankenburg park the car. Says he had issues with Ottard saying the wrong few numbers. So that makes 3 retirements. That one will be interesting. It will be very tight if we have another lap after this one or not. When the timer hits 0 and we cross the finish line, it's basically over, and we are crossing the finish line at 1 minute and 34. That shouldn't be enough for another lap, so this should be the final lap, especially at their pace. It's 1:35 and it's 4,800 between Christian Brand and Marco Shadron. So his last real chance is the final turn. Unless they have like the lap of the century and manage to get another lap, but Christian Brand will do anything to not have another lap. Again, the two different lines. Taurus looks like Aksharon is trying a dive bomb, but actually it isn't. It's less than half a second between the two of them, but it's too far away for any dive bomb. And he doesn't risk it. And out of the final turn, 3, 2, 1. It's race over, and Christian Brunt wins the second race at Chang International Raceway. Congratulations, and Mark Chadron with a solid P2 can be very happy about that one, I guess. Mr. Minimi comes home in third, securing 16 points for the championship. That's a very good fight from him. And Marcel Löcken now into the final turn. Marcel Löcken comes home in P4. So, Henrik Newland, P5 Dick Pfeiffer with a very interesting on the finish line. P6, good recovery by the two Bentleys. P7 to Stefan Tauber, who drove a very good race as well, very consistent. Gynekologe managed to recover to 8th place. I think you can't complain about that one. Charlie Monk seems to have retired as well. And Laurens Sargmeister, no, he isn't retired, he just finished the race already and went to the pits, all good. He was one of the lap cars between the others, so he finished earlier. So yeah, congratulations to Christian Born, Mark Shadow and Mr. Mini for the podium. Marcel Löcken, Henrik Newland, Dirk Pfeiffer, also very good results, same for Stefan Teuber. Fastest lap goes to Conor Blankenburg, who unfortunately couldn't finish this race. Been a very good show. He put up with very, very fast lap times, to say the least. But in the end, just wasn't meant to be. He said Otter had showed him the wrong fuel consumption or fuel he needs to add, which can easily happen on a track where you haven't much data. That because of the slow in-lap we have, yeah, that the fuel consumption this is measured by this in-lap where you obviously drive in a very high gear for your speed and on low engine rep to save you. Happened to me as well. It's kind of tricky. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's race. If you want to join the league, there's a link down below in the description where you can join basically any of our leagues. We have the GTRM, as we've seen today. Not next week, but the next race will take place, let me just check, in Interlagos. Yep, on the 17th of February, so there's quite a long time up until that one. But next one is Interlagos. Then we have Sonoma Raceway and Motown and Aragon to go. So very interesting checks. And also pretty underused ones for me. Well, Interlagos maybe not, but Sonoma and Aragon are pretty underrated. So have fun. You can also join the other leagues, obviously, just for fun, where we have some random combos. And the Winter League with 24-hour, with Nordschleife events on 24-hour and VLN layouts. The next race should be next week. It's on the 13th of January, so next week, on the VLN variant. So make sure to check that out. Have a nice day, have a nice evening, and goodbye.